Good morning, church. Good to see you again, or good afternoon whenever you're seeing this. Perhaps a good evening is in order. But nonetheless, here we are again today. Uh, if you'll remember, we talked last week about we're going to open the church, and we are. We're finalizing some things on that. We'll go over a few little details today to get you clued in and tuned up. I think we're going to have one more of these sessions before we actually meet. But I want to get you prepared and kind of get you in order of what we're going to be doing. Very quickly, I'd love to go over the Fresno County statistics very quickly with you. We're now at 1,156 total cases. This is due to the fact they're testing more. People have always been sick in the background, but we just didn't know it because they weren't being tested. But now testing has become more widespread, and we're finding more cases. Again, people have died, 16 deaths in Fresno County to the state. Although 16 represents 16 families who are in sorrow, and we don't want to minimize that, and we want to continue to pray for those families who have lost loved ones. But here's a number I want you to think about. 153 people have ever been hospitalized with this. And so we're hearing in the news that this thing is coming back and reinvigorating. I don't believe it really is. I believe it's a function, again, of more testing. People are getting sick. We're finding out that they're sick. But I think that our curves here, as we've talked before, are very flat. And in fact, in Fresno County and in Fresno City, things are being loosened up and businesses are being given a green light to start opening and doing certain things. But again, I don't think these are bad numbers, but they are numbers. Let's not forget, this is a real virus. This is a real sickness. People are getting sick and people have died. But again, we think those numbers are not scary in the sense of looking at other countries, other cities, other places. We talked last week about getting open, and we're going to do that. May 31st, we'll have our first service here, 10 o'clock in the morning. And we talked about Sunday school, and I told you I would give you more information on that as it became available. I would be in consultation with Sunday school director Sonia Vital, and we've done that. And I got to tell you, folks, in the interest of safety and with an abundance of caution, the Sunday school is not going to open. The Sunday school is going to remain closed for the time being. The logistics of getting this done are enormous. There were a lot of things. It wasn't that I didn't think of them, it's just there was a lot of deeper thought that needed to go into these things. And so opening the Sunday school is going to be a slower process than opening the church. Going to require a lot of thoughtful planning to achieve the maximum protection for our children and the Sunday school staff. Let's not forget there are people in there taking care of our kids. Really the largest hurdle to overcome is the nursery and the toddlers. These kids require a lot of close contact and interaction, with diaper changes such and baby, bathroom breaks. It's just very difficult. The toddlers and babies are too young to wear a mask and can't be expected to understand social distancing, the kind of coughing into your elbow thing and whatnot. And also, folks, in thinking about it, it's asking a lot of someone to watch the babies and the toddlers with much reduced social distancing. It's a lot to ask someone who doesn't know your children. Really, they don't know how they've been, sheltering in place. And they're not. I think there were people that would do it, but I'm not going to put them in that situation. I really think that we need to take a little more thought, a little more time, and let this thing run just a little bit more time out on this virus. Also, the younger kids, they might understand a bit more, but can hardly be expected to maintain social distancing and wearing the mask for over the course of their time in the class and while we're in church. And there's also something that I've been reading a lot about. Children tend to be asymptomatic. That means they have the virus, but they're not showing any symptoms. They're running around, playing, they don't have a fever, they're acting normal, and it's just, it would be problematic for us. You won't know they're sick, and that's the real problem. Again, it's a lot to ask someone to watch children and risk infecting their family to come here to watch our children and then go home and not know that they've been next to a child who's asymptomatic, and all of a sudden their family has it. And so I have to tell you folks, this is a very serious thing, because if we get the coronavirus in our church, if somebody here has it, and as soon as they're tested, you're going to give up where you've been, and that's expected. We want you to do that. It's part of the process of dealing with this thing in a communal sense. And they're gonna find out you were at a church. They're gonna contact us, and that'll be it, folks. We'll be closed at least for another month. I need you to be aware of that. We've got to really, really be careful here. And look, I'm also fully aware that you may not want to bring your children to the church at this time. And I want you to also understand you are under no pressure and you're under no obligation to do so. Perhaps you could alternate with a spouse. One week you bring them, the next week he bring them, or vice versa. It's just a thought. But look, you're under no obligation to come here with your children if you don't feel like it's a good thing for you to do. But if you decide to attend with your small children, they're going to be with you in the sanctuary. That's the only possible way we can do this. And I want to caution you or warn you or just plead with you. Please do not allow your children to become a distraction. It's hard enough with how this is going to all come down. It's going to be hard enough to try to maintain a service and maintain some order and a little, I suppose, I don't want to, we're not professional church people, but to have some kind of semblance of order in here, we can't have kids, running around and screaming and crying. And so you're going to have to deal with that. And what we're going to do is we're going to keep the classrooms open for you to take them there and quiet them before returning back to the service. Just if you do that, if you have small kids, maybe sit more towards the back. And when they fuss up, you can take them outside and into the classroom and get them quieted down and then come back in. It'll be your responsibility to make sure your child that's 2 years or older has a proper fitting mask and maintains the church's social distancing policy. We can't be the COVID cops. We can't become the people who, give you a 6-foot ruler and say, here's the distance. I saw something on the internet yesterday in Germany. There's a cafe. They're making them wear pool noodles, folks, on their head that are 6 foot long, and make sure that when you turn, you're not hitting somebody with it. It's insane what's happening. So again, it will be your responsibility to keep that policy in order with your children. And I know it's difficult, but we have to do this, folks, so that we're maintaining the policy that we've devised to open. That if we're questioned, if somebody comes and says, what are you guys doing? What's happening here? We're going to be able to show them a policy. We're going to be able to show them we've got this stuff written down. We just didn't say we're coming to church and we don't care about anything else. We're going to show them that we're using the same things they're doing in restaurants, the same thing they're doing in liquor stores, for goodness sakes. The same thing they're doing in other places, we'll be doing here so that we can open up. Now, we're going to join thousands of churches that are going to do this on May 31st in Southern California and all throughout California. My mother church is going to be opening as well. And so I want you to know, again, I said this last week, I'll say it again, I'm a law-abiding citizen. I'm not a rebel. I'm not trying to be a rebel. But I believe enough's enough, that thousands of pastors and hundreds of thousands of Christians, churchgoers in California, think the way I'm thinking the way perhaps you're thinking, that we need to get back to church. For goodness sakes, we go to the grocery stores, we go to all these other places, and people are around us, and they're not stopping us from being in those places. So why is it that the church has to be closed? Well, we're not going to. We're going to be open. We're going to go back to business the best we can with the social distancing policy and with the COVID policy that we're going to have written here. We're going to do this. See, we're following, I believe, a higher law, the law and the Word of God. Folks, it's our constitutional right to be in church. It's our God-given right. In America, we have the right to be in church. And when they try to tell us how to have church or not have church, they're creating their own church, and that's not right. And I don't believe it's right. But again, I'm not trying to be a rebel here. I'm not trying to be this overzealous patriot. Again, so this isn't a protest. This is not a show of force. But it's time to get back to worshiping God as the church, as a corporate body of believers. And again, I want to stress that no one is under any pressure to come on the 31st. If you don't feel safe, you don't feel comfortable, you have the kids, you don't feel like you want to bring them out, we're not here to point a finger at you. We're not going to mention your name, nothing. We want you to be here if you want to be here, and for no other reason. And I want you to understand, we're not doing this foolishly. We understand that COVID-19 is real. People have become sick. 16 have died in Fresno County. A few have died in Madera County. There have been a few in Kings County, where I work. This is real. People's lives are affected by it. But we have a plan to return to the building. And this policy, these rules will be loosened as we feel it's necessary. But for the time being, when you come into the church, the first thing that's going to happen, you're going to be staged outside, 6 foot apart, to enter the building. We're going to take your temperature with a non-contact thermometer. They've arrived. We've got them. In fact, we're armed with thermometers. We've got 4 that we're ready to go with. And if you've got a temperature of 99.9, you or somebody in your family, your group, that person cannot come in. They cannot be allowed in the service. I'm sorry for that, folks. You got to understand, though, that this is a safety thing. This is a group thing. We're trying to protect the individual as well as the group. I don't know. I don't know what to do if that case. You say, well, everybody in my group's okay, but I'm not. I don't know. Maybe find a shady spot outside and get out your phone and watch us on YouTube. I don't know what to say here, folks, but we have to maintain that 99.9 degree threshold to make sure that nobody's sick. You might say, well, I know I've been running a fever. I've got an infection in my big toe. Look, we're not doctors. We don't want to get that nuanced. But 99.9 is the threshold. Everyone has to wear a mask. Got one here. We've been mentioning this for weeks now. Everyone has to wear a mask. Just like that. Over your face. It covers your mouth and your nose. It doesn't have to be a mask, some other device. Look, if you want to tie a t-shirt around yourself, I don't care. Just make sure that you got something covering your face, your nose, and your mouth. We want you also, if you can, to bring some hand sanitizer with you. The church has a limited supply. We want to make it available to folks who need it. But if you've got some and you could bring for your group, we would really, really appreciate that. Those that are in high-risk categories, this is very important you understand that. If you're in a high-risk category, we've got folks here who are seeing oncologists. You've got cancer treatments that are going on. Maybe you've had cancer, but you're still under some kind of therapeutic review. You need to take this seriously. You probably should stay home. They're telling us that the people who are dying, the most susceptible are people of age that are elderly, and anybody has a comorbidity, that they have some other thing wrong with them. And we're not trying to get you in a dangerous situation, but because we're not healthcare professionals here, I'm a minister, I'm not a doctor. You need to take care and take charge of your life. Take this seriously. Make sure you've got direct connection, direct communication with your healthcare professionals who are giving you the okay to be in a group setting like this. We're going to live stream our services for those high-risk folks that need to stay home. And look, if that's you that we're talking to, again, I'm going to stress, I want you to stay home, and we're going to live stream for you so that you could be comfortable, you could be safe, and when this thing has run its course, you'll be back in service with us. So we're going to live stream the services for the stay-at-home folks, the parents who need to stay home with the kids, those kinds of things, and others. We're going to ask you also, when you're in the service, please respect the 6-foot distancing rule. If not for yourself, do it for others. Make them feel comfortable. We're going to sit together as groups. If you've been sheltering in place together, you're going to sit together in the church. And then we're going to put groups as best we can. Again, folks, we don't know how it's all going to go down, how it's going to work. We're going to make it work. We're going to get it worked out, and we'll find out how this has to go. But sit together as a group if you've been sheltering in place as a group. And then we'll maintain 6-foot distances as best we can around these groups. No coffee bar for the foreseeable future. I know I've kind of grown used to that. I kind of like it. Also in the summer and the spring, Sister McKinnis brings other beverages that I kind of enjoy as well. But again, for the foreseeable future, we're going to keep that closed. And look at, let's socialize outdoors before and after service. Stay outside, maintain the 6-foot distance. So we're going to take advantage of the good weather, socialize before and after service outside, and when we come in, we're going to come into the sanctuary and maintain our 6-foot distancing. And look at, I'm going to continue to work with Sister Sonia and her staff to develop a social distancing scenario for the Sunday School department so that we can get it up and running safely as quick as possible, but not sooner than necessary or sooner than is possible. We want to get it done right, get it done once, and be done with that. So let's get yourself prepared to join us here on May 31st for our normal 10 o'clock service. We'll see you then. God bless you.